claims, and these black creators are quiet. We're going to talk about it after the bumper. What's happening, everybody? Jeff Lightsey Jr. here with the Black Boss channel and Victory Formation. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload every single day. It's like a gnat or something flying around here. And okay, so DL Hughley made a post about the founder of Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy, and it has me thinking because there's a lot of black creators over at Barstool and everybody seems to be really, really quiet, like high profile black creators. Gilly the King, the famous rapper, Wallow, who is just blown up via social media because of his great motivational speeches and his time that he spent in prison and the way he's able to give out game. Their podcast, $1 million worth of game, is a part of the Barstool Sports conglomerate. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and the 21st in Prime, him and Jamie Duke's podcast is a part of the Barstool conglomerate. And everybody seems to be really quiet about, after this post made by DL Hughley. So I'm going to share my screen and show you exactly what DL Hughley put on Instagram this week that, like I said, has not gotten a response as far as I've seen. So here is the post. Let's listen. Well, that.
That's true. That actually is true. All my niggas that living it up, what you do, it's gonna be hit after hit. He'll just yell something in his EDP like twang, like "fuck this nigga," like in the middle, and everyone's like, "What?" And then he'll just go quiet for like another 20 minutes. It's all my niggas that
it doesn't stop there.
Blackface
segments on Barstool Sports.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that actually is true. No, that's like walking around. You can't. You like have to go take a piss with people. Yeah, you cannot. Oh no, but this particular Halloween, I dressed up as Craig Sager. So I have a couple pictures of me like interviewing Gaz by himself in full blackface. That's you can't you gotta put him on a leash and have him next to you the whole time. And I think he had one leash. Make sure get one. I don't. Yeah, right. If you do blackface,
it gets worse.
You posted the following on your site: I never condone rape, but if you're a size 6 and you're wearing skinny jeans, you kind of deserve to be raped.
Correct. I stand by that. I think it's a funny joke.
You think rape is funny?
No, I didn't say that. I think it's a funny joke.
Do you understand how offensive that is?
No, I obviously don't.
You posted the following on your site.
It says, props to dude from Minnesota who said enough of this and ran over protesters in the street. Okay, so there's somebody running over protesters in the street. And then this is a joke from 2016. It says, anybody who disagrees with me saying Kaepernick looks like he's related to bin Laden is a moron. Okay, so then he compares Colin Kaepernick to Osama bin Laden. So what's so interesting about this is because white people being racist is that's age-old thing. Like that's not something that's new. It's interesting that this comes out around the time that Bill Cosby is released, and I hate relating a lot of things back to Cosby, but it's very prevalent. It's very true because we saw our people so quick to jump on each other about the defending of Bill Cosby, even though there was no evidence or anything that you had to say about in the positive light of Bill Cosby, whether you thought what he did was wrong or right, but to say some of the things that he's done throughout his life is good, you were just demonized basically. And Cosby as his character and him, he was demonized. Whether you thought everything he did was perfect or everything he did was wrong, it didn't matter. Like you were demonized for saying anything about Cosby. I bring up Cosby because of this. There are high profile people that work over at Barstool Sports. Deion Sanders, who's the head coach at Jacksonville State, who was a college football Hall of Famer, who was a pro football Hall of Famer, who, when he speaks, people listen. He works over there at Barstool Sports. He does work with Dave Portnoy. And he has not said anything about this post DL Hughley has put out. Gilly the King, who was a famous rapper who was signed to, Cash Money, who made some hits, who did his thing, and now has become even more successful. as far as his social media presence, as far as, his $1 million worth of game podcast, which is a part of the Barstool Sports conglomerate, and his cousin Wallow, who did 20 years in prison, who has been a social media darling, essentially. No offense to him, not to disrespect the man, not to emasculate him, but the fact that his $1 million worth of game and his books that he sold and the things, his podcasts and his speeches that he gives out is so insightful and so uplifting to our community. And for these guys to all be really, really, really pro-black, right? Like all of these guys preach being pro-black. Deion Sanders is super spiritual and religious. And for them to have these, this is what they have portrayed themselves. This is who we think they are. This is, what we look up to them. A lot of people look up to them because of these stances. And to not say anything about this post, I mean, DL Hughley's post has, over hundreds of thousands of views, has tens of thousands of likes and shares and comments. And nobody has yet to come out and say anything about this. Now, I had always heard that Barstool Sports did a lot of racist stuff, right? Like I don't pay attention enough to Barstool to know. I became a consumer, I guess, of Barstool recently because they added great black creators. They added Deion Sanders. They added Gilly. They added Wallow. They added the $1 million worth of game. They added 21st and Prime. So that's when Barstool got on my radar. I'd always heard about them being controversial. And maybe this is why nobody has said anything, because they knew this the entire time. But I wasn't really aware. Like I always heard of Dave Portnoy doing racist stuff and saying all kinds of crazy stuff, but I didn't know because I didn't pay attention. I'm not a Barstool consumer. I'm not his demographic, I guess. I don't know, whatever. They came on my radar when they added Deion Sanders, when they added Gillian Wallow. And when Deion signed to Barstool, I remember this vividly because, like I said, Deion is such a larger-than-life personality. He's such a larger-than-life like concept, idea, person, football player, entrepreneur, businessman, everything. That when he signed, a lot of people were disappointed in Coach Prime. And a lot of people were disappointed in Deion because of things like this, apparently. The people who actually were paying attention to Barstool knew this stuff was going on. And it's like, dang, like, they were right. Like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, wow, these people were right the entire time, and it took for somebody like DL Hughley to put it on my radar. Now, don't get me wrong. It's like, Jeff, well, why would Gilly, Wallow, Deion Sanders, Jamie Duke, all of these, intelligent black men sign to Barstool Sports, knowing that their founder, their owner, this guy Dave Portnoy, does all this crazy stuff and like essentially a blatant racist. It looks like he's a blatant racist, blackface, saying the N-word, doing all this kind of crazy stuff. It's because Barstool Sports is worth a lot of money. Like Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy is worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if I'm not mistaken. Barstool Sports, it started as like a blog. Portnoy, I did some reading up on it. He started it off as a blog out of Boston. And these guys out of Boston, they get a lot of success out of their sports blogs. First was Bill Simmons. He had Bill Simmons, The Ringer, and he worked for ESPN for a long time. And then it was Portnoy with Barstool Sports. They started out out of Boston, and it grew because these Boston fans are just like freaking, they love their sports. And it's like Boston's like, oh, it's Beantown. It's like, white men to get really, really, crazy about the Celtics, the Red Sox, and they have all the sports right there in Boston. The Celtics, the Red Sox, the all of the Penguins, I want to say, like Bruins, the Boston Bruins, my bad, not the Penguins, the Bruins. And all of those sports are right there in that major city. It's still worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And they have millions of people, not just in this country, but around the world, to pay attention to their sports, to their site, to their, what they're doing over there. And so when you add Deion Sanders or you add Gillian Wallow, you're reaching a fan base, a demographic that you might not have been able to reach on your own. And you can make a lot of money doing it. Like I said, $1 million worth of game is one of the best podcasts out, period. Sports, entertainment, whatever. It's one of the best podcasts out, period. Deion Sanders, what he's doing with Jackson State and what he's doing with 21st and Prime, it's amazing. And a lot of the attention, besides the black independents like myself and right here at the Black Boss channel, but a lot of that pub is getting pushed out by Barstool Sports. It's just the truth. And so that is why I believe they chose to sign with Barstool. Barstool's putting together a documentary for Deion Sanders in Jackson State. And so that's why I guess they were willing to overlook some of these statements. Or maybe they can claim like me and say, hey, I never saw it before. Because for the longest up until now, I hadn't never seen it before. I was like, I'd always heard, saw other people's tweets, but I didn't have physical evidence. DL Hughley put out the raw physical evidence that Dave Portnoy has done some racist things in his past, like recent past. Those videos aren't that old. Talking about rape jokes, blackface, going costume parties with blackface. Oh, we're with two black guys. Yeah, that ain't cool though. But see, the thing is, nobody has said anything about this except for DL Hughley. Shout out to DL Hughley. And he got the information from a source who's controversial in himself. He got it from Michael Rappaport. Now, Michael Rappaport, for you, those who don't know, once I was doing this research, I found out Michael Rappaport used to work for Barstool Sports. And him and Portnoy fell out, and Portnoy fired Rappaport. And they've kind of hated each other ever since, right? Now, Rappaport, as we know, had that bickering with Kevin Durant recently. And so he's not the most credible source either. But this is just, this is video evidence of Portnoy saying the N-word, of Portnoy with, condoning blackface and doing stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't know, man. The fact that this is resurfaced and the black creators over there, Gilly, Wallow, Deion Sanders, Jamie Dukes, I'm going to say the names. It's disappointing that they haven't addressed it. It is disappointing. I still like these guys. I'm still going to be a fan of these guys. But the fact that they're just letting this go unscathed and not saying anything. And if you look at the comments on DL Hughley's post, right? If you look at the comments, you'll see, other high level, like Steven Jackson, who has a successful podcast as well. DC Youngfly, Rappaport, of course. And some other people, like I said, thousands of comments like, yo, what is going on? Like, hey, ain't this your man's? Why ain't you saying anything? Why is this going, unspoken or whatever? And maybe that was the decision that they made. Maybe that's something they had to say, like, hey, this is what we've done in the past. If this resurfaces, you can't speak on it. Maybe that was a part of their contract. I don't know. But it is kind of disappointing to see that because, like I said, a guy like Dave Portnoy with hard video evidence can joke about rape, can go in blackface, can do all of this, and his own black creators won't say anything. They won't say anything. But a guy who is a living legend and a Bill Cosby gets accused of things. Now, I'm not saying Bill Cosby is a perfect man, but with zero evidence, and every black person on the face of earth has everything to say. And make sure that you are put down publicly if you are in support of Bill Cosby. That, to me, is just mind-blowing. That's why I brought up Cosby, because it's like our own people will make sure we denigrate and destroy ourselves and allow the white man to continue to thrive. Allow the white man to continue to have success and allow the white man to get away unscathed and won't say anything bad or say anything, indifferent about anything. This is your boss over at Barstool. You have nothing to say about his actions? That is mind-blowing to me a little bit. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Leave your thoughts in the chat. Once again, I'm Jeff Lights Jr. at the Black Boss Channel and Victory Formation Sports Show. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I will see you next time. Please leave your thoughts because I want to hear everybody's thoughts and comments about this stuff. Maybe you already knew. And if you did, leave that in the comments as well. Thanks, you guys. I'll see you next time. Peace.